And we are live here on Dude, What's the Bid? It's episode 51. We took a little break, a little summer vacation from the doldrums of the humidity and the heat and the freight market for the summer. But we are back here in October with another great episode. My name's Kevin Hill, here as always with Casey Larkin. Casey, how are you doing today?
Doing well, Kev. Doing well. Yeah, we had a little bit of a hiatus, but excited to be back here doing this again.
Yeah. Did you have a good summer? A good kickoff to the football season and cooler weather?
Yeah, it's good and bad, Kev. The Ravens have been an absolute dumpster fire this year. Hate to see that. So from a football perspective, in the fall, it's not what I'm used to. But no, everything else was great. Doing some fishing, some surf fishing off the beach here in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Yeah, starting to cook some meals, which always feels good.
You smoking it? Got
Yeah,
the trigger out, smoking and everything?
yeah, dude. I still have that same grill that I'm sure you probably remember from Chattanooga. It's made a number of different moves with me. The lid doesn't even have hinges on it anymore. The hinges have rusted out and fallen off. So I just, pick the lid up, put it on the ground, throw the meat in, close that sucker back up, and still works like a charm.
Awesome. So what else are you up to these days? How was the summer business-wise?
It was good. Working for Testy, Charlie, Priyanka, and their team. PR and marketing firm. Working exclusively with folks in the freight markets, right? Carriers, brokers, anybody in that space, making it easier for commercial supply chains people to operate, get things from A to B. But it's good. We work with the Association for Supply Chain Management to help market their event series and take care of sponsorship fulfillment over there. Conference was Change. Was in Columbus in September. Went well. Learned a lot. Right, events are super hectic, but had some wonderful sponsors there. Great content, and headed to Long Beach next year in 2026. We'll be out there in September 2026. Should be a great venue. But yeah, since then, been working with, Charlie, Priyanka, John, the rest of the team here at Testy. Helping build out the go-to-market a little bit, and working with some cool brands on their PR and marketing strategies. So it's been fun to get a little taste of the dark side, if you will, working with the PR firm, seeing what you can do to pitch stories to the media.
It is. Yeah, my summer was pretty good by myself, right? Work on past research, doing sales at carrier sorts. If anyone out there wants some great shipper intel, leads, real-time intel of what shippers are looking for, DM me because I've got a data set that is absolutely amazing over here. Other than that, just conference season's coming up again. I'm headed out to Orlando here in a couple weeks to the Broker Carrier Summit. It's always a fun time.
Oh yeah.
And talk about deals. Deals get done there. Shippers, not shippers, but carriers and brokers are finding great partners out there each and every time. The Hyatt Regency in Orlando, October 28th through the 30th. So if you haven't register for that. Come down to Orlando. See us down there. It's going to be fun. And speaking of Orlando and PCS, I think we have one of the attendees. I think he's going to be able to make Orlando, if he can pack it into his schedule, and he's made a move this summer as well. So he's got a new venture too, doesn't he, Casey?
He does. The legendary Chris Torrence just mentioned to us that he's planning to go to BCS too. So probably perfect time to bring him up, introduce himself. I know he's working with a new company after being at Optum for a while. So Chris, welcome to the stage. How we doing, sir?
It's been a minute. Well, what's up, amigos? Good seeing you guys. Been a minute.
It has, hasn't it? It's been a little bit.
I think it might have been BCS like Indy. I think.
Yes.
Could be wrong.
That would be the last time. Yeah.
Casey, I'm trying to pinpoint it, right? It's just they all run together in my head, man. So many road shows up.
Exactly right. So, yeah, I mean, are you thinking you're going to be on the road as much these days with MapUp? I know.
Yeah, man. That's part of, for better or worse, man. I'm getting those miles. So I don't know. One of these days, you'll see my final LinkedIn post calling it quits with probably I've already thought it through. I'm like, a couple thousand badges and lanyards from my conferences, just a mic drop icon or something. But for the interim, yes, I will be out and about helping scale my latest startup. And of course, you guys alluded to earlier, it is conference season. I've already been to, I think I was at McLeod's not too long ago out in Denver and got F3, ATA out in San Diego, BCS, Trimble. So I think I told you guys earlier, right? I remember the days, man, when it was just like, you had your 5 or so conferences throughout the year, fall, spring, and then nowadays, man, it's hard to keep up. I feel like I said, there's 52 weeks in a year, and I swear there's a conference at least 51 weeks of the year. So it's, pick and choose your battles, but I'm on the go, needless to say.
On the go. So when did you make the move over to MapUp? It wasn't that long ago, right? Just maybe
fairly recent.
At the most.
Yeah, man. I've been working with some more academically rooted companies. So Optimal Dynamics out of New York, I was really early there, and they've done great. It sounds like, right? I still keep up and really friendly, and wish them all the best. And during that time, of course, met a guy named Ravi down in Dallas, and of course that became Optum, and definitely did put a lot of effort into getting them, taking some of their cool products they had in other modes like airlines and rail, and of course, big presence in LTL, and then started kind of getting into the truckload side. And guys like you, I can't recall the last time I had a little break, like a real break, like a dare I say sabbatical. But this summer, I got a little one, and I feel like I'm missing half his life. And I said, I don't want to be on my deathbed. As the saying goes, no one ever sat there on that deathbed saying, I wish I spent more time working. So right. I kind of had that epiphany, if you will, and said, I'm going to take a few months, and I'm in Chicago. So I don't know if there's any better time than the summer months to try to, get a little R&R in. So ironically, during that time, I met a founder actually last year at Ben Gordon's BGSA at the Breakers there in Palm Beach, and had a good chat, introduced her to a few people. That one in particular ended up becoming a big customer. And over the summer, she reached out. Her name's Katie Malawat, and she's the founder of MapUp. And she said, hey, I want to have, you're a go-to-market guy, you're a strategy guy. So it turned into a 30-minute, just advice call, went way over, and here we are. So that's the nature of how I roll, guys. I saw a cool opportunity, and, after working with, again, a lot of really smart people, way smarter than me, like PhD caliber, Princeton, MIT spinoffs, like way out of my league. You got, I'm a state school guy at best, at best. But yeah, I said, it's so complex what companies like OD and Optum are doing. And I guess in the AI hype cycle we're in, and the complexities that I saw with those companies, again, wish them all the best, and they're doing great. I was ready to kind of say, is there a layup out there somewhere? And what I mean by that is, again, I think in this AI cycle, I think most of the folks I interact with, like, hey, whether you offshore it, nearshore it, AI, in-house, what's the outcome? And again, a lot of those more complex network optimization projects are really intense and long to deploy and integrate. And Katie she said, hey, we're tackling a really niche part of the pie here. And I was like, well, what is it? I kind of knew a little bit. And she's like, we're kind of in like going into like the tolling space. And I'm like, tolls, what? And of course that pairs well with some fueling, prescriptive fuel routing, and we're kind of starting to integrate it into like really cool, like a more modern version of navigation. So think like a Google Maps, but as we often say, half the ideas in our industry are like, well, how can I use Google Maps when I'm on like my own vehicle and has everything I need? But in trucking, not always the case. So I kind of looked at this as like, again, a really niche area. I tell customers all the time and prospects, I'm not going to make or break your budget this year, but you guys leave a lot of money on the table. It often starts with, if in Chicago, we have iPass. I don't know about Kevin, you're, Casey, I know Florida and Texas and definitely in the Northeast, right? PA Turnpike.
Tolls aren't going away.
They're not. And I always ask, when's the last time you audited your own toll expense? Because for me, guys, I just got my card hooked up to iPass here in Illinois. It recharges every time I run out of funds, and I've never looked at it ever. And I'm just a car, right? And I look at trucks that, they got multi-axles. Every state's got these agencies. The time of day you go. And really the traditional method of that is these transponders, which again, we have in our cars and trucks have them, right? Or license plate readers. And as we move into a GPS world, I'll go back to Google Maps, right? Like, why can't we get something that's really indicative of where we actually go? So Lyft, of all people, we're in trucking, but the first customer for MapUp was Lyft. And I said, so wait a minute. So it's niche, but it applies to commercial vehicles and rideshare, of course, rental cars, leasing, anybody that goes through tolls. There's probably a better way to do it. And what I mean by do it is audit it, reconcile it. And it's, again, money you leave on the table. And in a razor thin margin like trucking, guys, every penny counts, especially in this market, right? Like, it's there on the ground. Pick it up. And so that's what kind of the genesis of why I started going, this is kind of cool. And we've seen a ton of success. Not really my own. I'm still relatively new, but I'm kind of really making a splash in trucking because I see the success they've had in other spaces. And so, MapUp's in 100 countries. So again, it's one of those plays that says it's a really niche part of the pie, but it is a global problem. And so that was intriguing. And the fact that the company's profitable, doing really good, revenue, profitability, really didn't get out of the gates till probably around 2019, but all that, it totally bootstrapped too. I see all these announcements of AI companies raising cash. I'm happy for them, but I'm kind of been there, right? I just want to go back. Let's go back to keeping it simple, stupid, and let's put out products like you see AI really. I see, we know people, right? Where does AI really fit in terms of use cases? And we're seeing the non-sexy things like back office stuff, right? And this is kind of one of those freight pay and audit type plays, but it's real. It's there. It's and this solution is easy to deploy. The ROI is instant, right? It's just like it's there. So again, sexy is great, but I like simplicity at this point in my career and outcome based. So that's a little gist of what kind of was the triggering mechanism for why I was like, all right, you're going to get out of the broad network optimization, big stuff, and go take a complete pivot, go down to further down the trough and find something that, again, often an afterthought for just about every company we work with. And that's what's the beauty. They don't even realize they have a problem. They speculate it, but we quantify it and fix it.
I like the same thing, right? Keep it simple, stupid, right? I like simple solutions, simple sales process.
It's kind of refreshing, guys.
Yeah. I'm going to put this in your hands and you're going to start using it immediately.
Yeah, right. And
then we can talk about other things after that.
100%. Like I said, that's the hook, guys. I mean, literally in the auditing piece, it just gives them an idea of like, hey, this is what you're leaving on the table. And then like, okay, great. How do we reconcile when we're getting overcharged? And all that's part of the platform. And like I said, you look at a P&L, like the line items, right? Other than the driver expense, which is the biggest, next in line is fuel. So we said a lot of our customers, and we're talking mega fleets, guys. I mean, US-based mega fleets. They started going, well, if you guys are GPS enabled, unlike the traditional transponders, which just, again, have limitations. Why can you guys start helping us out with their fuel routing? And, my tagline, it's an old trucking proverb, is the best route is the one the driver actually follows. So we're seeing a lot of cases where trucking companies, when they look at the burn rate on fuel, right? Don't sit idle too long. If you're going in a mountainous area, you're going to burn more, and they really are cautious about it.
Right.
I find when they buy the procurement side of fuel, it's like kind of a credit card. Like, who's giving me the most points or cash back? And I'll work with you. What happens though, guys, is, and we got some really cool anecdotes, is the driver, the guy behind the windshield, he or she, that's great corporate. I know you got your discount, but I'm actually out here on the road, and that place you want me to go over, across town, it's a little sketchy. They don't have any amenities. We had one driver that said, he said, why didn't you take the route that you were prescribed? at it from another provider. He goes, because their chicken's not good at the convenience store. And it was like, guys, that's reality. So we're kind of trying to introduce GPS capabilities around tolling and fueling and navigation, et cetera. I even talked to the truck parking guys. I'm like, hey, Evan, when I'm a driver, right, GPS is GPS. What are constants that never change when I'm out on the road? I got to stop for fuel at some point, OTR. I got to probably park when my hours are up or, whatever. And that's a problem that Evan and others are tackling. And I'm probably going to encounter fuels depending where I am. So those are constants that will never change. So we want to just kind of revolutionize what traditionally has been like a PC mile or Copilot. No, all due respect to those companies. But again, as we move into a GPS era, which is, again, indicative of what actually happens, not misreads on transponders or trucks that the transponder falls out. I mean, we had one customer said we lost 3 transponders. They racked up $100,000 and they couldn't even know where to start because it's delayed from the agencies, which is government, right? That's the tolling. They're banking. You're not going to ask them for a refund because you're not going to do the work, because at a unit transaction level, it's not a lot of money. Right. You take that over 5,000-10,000 truck fleet that heads tolls all the time on axles and Northeast, et cetera, it adds up big. And so again, I think it's just like the simplicity is what I love about it. And the fact that, again, it's one of those little things that great. That makes sense for us. Let's recoup that money. So, all this is to say, I'm extremely happy to be with Katie and Manish and the team here. And we're a small but mighty team looking to bootstrap as far as we can, right? I'm kind of old school like that. Let's build a real company and not rely on too much external capital. We'll see where that goes in the future, but we're very happy where we are today.
Very cool. Interesting. You guys, I mean, are at the antithesis of the Uber model, right? It's funny that you guys work with Lyft, but how the hell could you hate a good old profitable bootstrapped company? That's the dream.
Yeah.
Right?
And I hate, man, Casey, you guys know I've raised capital before. It's great. And I have nothing wrong with raising capital per se. It's just sometimes the deployment of that capital is where I have questions. But at the end of the day, it's like anything in life. If you're making money organically, I just don't want to be, and again, all due respect to the VC and private equity community, it's just, I think you guys probably know how that typically works when there's another voice that has a lot of say in how your strategy and the direction of the company. And it's nice. It's refreshing. And it's the freedom that comes with saying, hey, we're not relying on any other source of capital other than we generate ourselves. So I'll ride this out. Again, if we start scaling, faster than we can keep up with resources, yeah, maybe I'll take a little bit of cash, but we'll see where that goes. We're good for now. It's
always good to raise money when you don't need it, right?
Yeah.
When you have when you have customers, right?
That's right.
You have a whole list of customers and a real business already set up and running, you can get really good terms. You face a lot of
it's all leverage game, right? You have it or you're getting leveraged. And I think for right now, we're happy to be in a position of like, thanks, but no thanks. Let's keep in touch, right? And that's typically my response out on the conference circuit, and go to like a manifest next year. And it'll be, a round robin of investors trying to get in on it. And again, I'm very appreciative and I respect the game, but I just been around long enough to know how I see the big picture, right? So like I said, we're in a good place, and I hope we stay the course.
Love it. Hard to get. Can't hurt. Interesting. Where are you based out of? Is Katie and the team there local in Chicago as well?
Yeah. We so our HQ, if you will, is in Sunnyvale, California. So Katie, again, the founder, and her husband Manish, who are the co-founders, they lived out in the Bay Area for many years, and I think they're also raising some kiddos, and said maybe we want to change it up. So they actually recently moved to Jacksonville, Casey, of all places. So I think that resonates with you, I assume. So that's kind of how the meeting started. I forget always associate you with Dallas, Casey, but I flew down there really, on my own dime. I'm still at Optum, and just said, I was kind of thinking things over on a break, and I just said, hey, I got to meet them, and got to see Jacksonville, which I rarely get to do, and we had a really good time. And here we are again. So we're a remote company though, Casey. I'd say we have quite a bit of resources over in India. Indian-owned company, so that just made sense. And Manish is an IIT grad, which, if you don't know, is a pretty prestigious school over there. So he's our CTO, and I think he's piped in some of his folks over in India, native country. And we're probably about, I want to say 50 people or so, but stateside wise, it's basically just the core leadership team. And I'm still in Chicago when I'm not on the road or in the air, and have no immediate plans to leave here anytime soon. But Then again, winter is approaching, so I always start to have that debate as the season changes. So we'll see what happens.
Very cool.
I was up in Chicago a couple times this summer, right? Because I'm working with Carrier Source now, and they're based out of Chicago. And I went up there in May, then went up there in like early August. Both great times to be up
the best.
there. A couple times in Chicago. Now I have to go up there in November. I'm just like,
if you're in this space, you'll be in Chi-Town every so often. That's a guarantee. And I tell people like, I've been to Chicago, and it's always like, what time of the year did you go? And you always get a different response. So
the last time I was in Chicago in November, Casey will remember this very well as well, because we were in his SUV driving from Chattanooga up to Chicago through a blizzard.
I remember.
Because
I remember that. Was that the first? That was the inaugural year of FreightWaves, right? The what's now F3, or was it something different? I just feel like that was a big story of the weather, and that first year was just it was a challenge logistically.
So the weather, and then that next year was COVID. Right. So there wasn't another one after that, another fall event, certainly after that, until F3 a couple years later. Yeah.
That's right. COVID throws me so off when it comes to like reflecting on like that period of time. It's just BC before COVID and after COVID. That's how we'll look at timelines maybe from here on. So
I know. But there are four of us in Casey's car driving through a blizzard from Chattanooga, Tennessee to Chicago, all in one shot. It was
Casey behind the wheel. I bet that had been a fun cruise. Yeah,
it was a fun cruise. Yeah,
I'll use that in air quotes. Fun. Yeah,
crazy. Yeah,
awesome.
The planes, all the flights were canceled.
Yeah,
November. It was absolutely foul in Chicago, but.
Yeah, we're lucky so far, man. Mother Nature's blessed us with some. It's starting to cool down, but honestly, guys, like again, maybe it's a Midwest thing, and I've been here like I'm a native of East Coast, Virginia, Mid-Atlantic, but I've been up here for over a decade, so it might as well be home. But I haven't had to break out the snowblower in a couple of years, and got to go out and actually reminds me. I'm like, I said things still starting up because I might need it this year, but. Yeah, so far it's been pretty mild, and honestly, guys, after a pretty warm summer up here as well, everywhere, I'm actually like football season maybe has something to do with it, and the holidays coming up. I'm like, I'm ready to get rid of the flip flops and shorts for a little bit and put on some sleeves for a change. I don't know, but then there's that fine line, right, between nice fall weather to just like the deep freeze season, which is just brutal, and that's when I'm looking to go to places like Orlando. Yeah.
Nice sunny Orlando. It'll be nice.
Yeah, man. Looking forward to it. To it.
On tolls, right? So I'm interested to see what are some of the main issues that, especially on the auditing side. I mean, is it overcharging? Is it just not charging right? Is it? I think,
man.
So you have tolls which are public expenses, but I think most of those toll agencies are now privatized, right?
Yeah, I mean, privatized to the extent of like the revenue still funds a lot of infrastructure work at the state level. And again, we mentioned we're in over 100 countries. So some countries, actually, it's the federal level that rules the roost. And maybe they're using the private sector because they've got good tech or whatever that may entail. But I assure you, at some point, Uncle Sam gets their cut over here. So like I said, it's just tax revenue.
Yeah.
So,
and I guess for long haul trucking, especially, right? So you have the Illinois version of the Texas.
Yeah, there's a bunch. iPass is what we have up here.
Does it kind of sync together?
Yeah.
How does that work these days? Because I still remember whenever I didn't throw my quarter in the toll booth, right? The siren would go off, and or if I didn't have 75 cents. Oftentimes in college, I might not have had it all had to be in change too, right? But
that's funny you say that, Kev, because the founders that the story is they were actually in Oklahoma, and they were hitting a toll, just the two of them, husband and wife, and they're like, "Oh man, do you have change? Do you have change?" And they're sitting there afterwards. They figured it out, and they're like, "Okay, gosh, that was not fun." They're in a Starbucks and realizing like, hey, we're paying for a coffee. We know how much it costs up front. We put it on a card electronically. And why are we still having to scrounge up quarters and hopefully get enough to it just didn't make sense. Now, granted, I see less and less toll plazas, and I can't speak for every state or everywhere, but they're getting out of the cash. I mean, everything's going cashless, right? But to answer your question, you'd still be surprised of just how many, just errors occur. And the error could be the fault of, the hardware that these agencies use, right? And again, you see cases where maybe you go through these transponders, right? No different than we have in our truck. So, or our cars rather. A truck would have one, right? That does interstate and hit those areas. So what you see though is those things, the readers, if you will, sometimes the transponders, sometimes they have glitches. And so in other words, if you enter a toll plaza and you're a truck, you pay a fee to go through that. Now, let's say you exit that toll plaza and say a couple miles, right? You're not on it very long. Well, let's say it's a misread. That plaza is likely going to do what's called a max toll, and they're going to charge you the full amount. Now, again, we're used to our cars, a couple bucks here and there, but when you have, multi-axles going, you get hit a lot harder, right? That's commercial vehicles. So they tax you. The toll's a lot higher. So like I said, that's one case we see a lot. We see cases where fleets will, they'll have equipment that they sell or park it or it's in maintenance, and they never take the transponder out. So you get cases. We had a fleet the other day. It's like, I'm getting billed up for tolls that I encountered in like Sacramento, California or something, but we're not in. That truck was like in the East Coast. Like, how does that? And probably that truck was, it was just, no one ever swapped it. And those things happen. Or the battery died. And then you get default to the max tolls because the battery in the little transponder died. I won't call out drivers, not all of them for sure, but there's definitely some that the transponder accidentally falls out of the truck and the driver may have it in their own car for the weekend, for example. So we see things like that. Like I said, little death by 1,000 paper cut scenarios. The other piece, Kevin and Casey, is not everything is the fault of the transponder, just that transaction. You see, again, it goes back to fleets that, some of them have, there's unfortunately a lot of fraud and equipment gets stolen and the transponder could be included. There's again, a myriad of things that from an organization standpoint and internal processes that aren't always done correctly with the result being, hey, you're going to be dinged regardless. You're going to keep getting billed because from a toll management perspective, they didn't notify like a Fleetworthy or Best Pass of these updates. And so no one knows. And so again, you're getting billed all the time for these things that it may not even be your own equipment. These things happen guys, and I'm a student of the game. I didn't know anything about this. Like I start off going, I've never even audited my own tolls on my own car. So I can only imagine how massive the problem can become. Right. Yeah. So that's, like I said, small riches in the niches. And that's the hook for us to get in is you audit. Let's audit it. What do you do? Where's and then how do we enable them to do it in real time because it's GPS. So a lot of the process for toll reconciliation is like, it takes, let's say 30, 60 days to even figure out what your tolls for a given month will be. And some of these agencies, like you got to file it within 2 days or 7 days to get reimbursed if there's an error. And like, we know the nature of operations, guys, at a truckload outfit. Like it's just too much going on. So you don't have time to go back and play detective from 30 days ago and figure out, where's all this happening. And again, you're not really thinking of it because it doesn't, at a transaction level, it doesn't hit you hard enough to feel it until you aggregate it over a year with hundreds, if not thousands of trucks that are having these issues. So like I said, it's again, money on the table that I think in this market, any market, like just take it. One of our big fleets, I think it was again around $6 or $7 million annually that they just lost sight of, and being able to recoup that's serious money. This is a publicly traded company, so it's not going to be the biggest cost for them. But I don't know about you guys. Somebody says you want, here's $6-7 million bucks that you can have back in your pocket. I'm taking it. I'm taking it. No questions asked. So we just kind of enable them to, again, through audit and reconciliation, the whole process from end to end through payments. Allow them to dispute in real time. If you're seeing everything in real time, no different when you take an Uber or Lyft, right? How many times I've had this happen? I'm talking to a driver, getting into it. He misses the exit and goes a couple, 10 miles out of the way. And then I get billed for it. And I'm going, well, that's not what happened. And you go, rideshare's like, well, they can see it. This is where you went. Yeah, the driver deviated from the route.
Right.
They're going to give you your money back. And the same thing happens in the tolling world, right? It's empirical data that we provide that enables, we have history of what actually happened. And of course, once you audit and get your money back, the next step is, how do I plan to not have this happen in the future? And that's where we kind of we layer in the tolling and then the fuels, parking through a nav platform that says, just like the Google Maps experience, I see everything. I see the routes I could take. Some of them are truck friendly, some are not.
Mm-hmm.
I can see where my tolls are going to start to be incurred. I know where I can fuel up. And then I'm starting to look at, hey, these are the places corporate says you need to fuel up. How often are you complying with that? And if you're not, again, like I said earlier, let's go back and present that to the boss team and say, you need to start, again, the best route's the one your drivers are following. That's kind of the way it works. So let's start really keeping that in mind. And so I think it starts to kind of translate into this really compelling story of, again, those constants I mentioned that won't change. How do you really maximize and optimize that small piece of the pie?
Yeah.
Cool stuff, right?
It really is cool.
Things you never thought about. It's just, again, it's after all these afterthoughts, So I love the niche aspect of it because I'm so accustomed to such bigger, broader problems of complexity. So this, like I said earlier, guys, this is like, oh man, it's nothing like being on a sales call and like, guys, let's go ahead and get this over with. Let's get some money in your pocket so you can go focus on those big projects, IT resources, all that's going to constrain your time and stuff. And that's really part of it. Get back. I'm going to just give you money now so you can go focus on the other things, right? And the receptiveness has been great. Like, I'm like, you guys need a win. You need a win. This is an easy win. Take the win.
Yeah.
Seriously.
So, yeah.
It's interesting to think about. What is the deal with how do you guys go about, right, finding the optimal fuel solution? How does that weave into the mix?
Yeah.
Let's hear more about that.
Yeah. And like I said, Casey, it's like that's always a huge expense, right? So there's fuel cards and people think we're not a fuel card provider. We're not, there's other companies that do the fuel, I should say toll or fuel management, but it's what I've learned is a lot of it's really more administrative than really deep tech that enables things like GPS to be factored in. So with fuel in particular, for when you're doing what we call prescriptive fuel routing, and we're going to be launching it in Chatta next week with one of our big customers, First Fleet out of Nashville. So their CIO Austin was nice enough to say, hey, I love you guys. What can I do? I'm like, told Craig and Freightways, I'm like, hey, has anyone ever had an actual customer go up on stage and talk about it? And I think the response was like, I don't think anyone's ever even asked about it, but that sounds great. So we're going to be there next week doing in the rapid fire demos with an actual customer. So I'll be on stage, probably not talking very much, but telling the story through the lens of a fleet, right? And I think that's so much more impactful than a vendor, right? That's my stance. But Austin will talk about things that, hey, here's where we got benefit from the tolling. And really that's the ones where, that's the customers of that size and scale and willingness to partner with us strategically to say, how do we get over some of the traditional products that we've had in the market for many years, if not decades? How do we incorporate some of this newer technology into things like planning our fuel routes, whether it's and help you negotiate better with your fuel card providers and your rates and buying in bulk. And there's a lot that goes into it, right? And then being able to just, like I said, here, we're just presenting it up. Here's a recommendation. The driver says, hey, I want, they have good chicken. They have showers. It's secure, it's safe. And again, we want to align that, right? So it's an experience that not just the driver, but there's a value add for the folks back at the office going like, now this is starting to really add up. And I see a ton of potential there. And the fueling is just, again, I think it's somewhere between, let's call it conservatively 20-25% up to almost 40% of operating expense for a lot of fleets. So that's significant, right? So the more they can squeeze out of that, and that, again, key point, the drivers are actually following that. When you compare that together, that creates some little cool magic, I would say. So that's a big plight of what we're trying to accomplish.
Super compelling. Having the customer on stage to do the pitch for you is the most Chris Torrence thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Social proof is the best seller. So if your customer is willing to pitch for you.
Yeah, man, that's the key, right? A lot of vendors are, and we're small guys, like, when you're a garage band, right? You're just like anything, you get a decent sized logo in the space you sell, you're playing in, and somebody's willing to say, we like you guys so much, we'll go help tell your story in a live audience, record it, all that. Man, that's invaluable, right? So
yeah,
again, shout out to Austin Henderson of First Fleet, man. He's been we talk about partnerships and all that. This guy redefines it. He is he asks all the right questions. He gives all the right feedback, always willing to support us along the ride, and very open and transparent with us on things he likes or doesn't like. And like I said, for any startup anywhere, that's the most valuable thing you can get, in my opinion, again. So we're happy to welcome him to F3 next week.
That is the your customers are your best salesperson people.
I mean, I'm a strategy guy. You know, people are like, what if you do for marketing? I'm like, you got any happy customers willing to talk about it? Like that there's an idea. But unfortunately, a lot of big companies, especially publicly traded, right? And I understand that. I've been at publicly traded companies. You got to, between legal and all that, you got to be very careful. And honestly, a lot of these newer companies, right? I don't think that a lot of their bigger customers haven't been there long enough to quantify it enough, right? To say we're willing to go on record and give our stamp of approval, because it's still too early. So like I said, this wasn't like hey, Austin, for example, can we, you know, we had to earn it, right? We had to show that we're delivering enough value for him and his team for him to get behind us in this regard and do exactly what he's planning to do next week. So it wasn't like a snap the finger request. We had to earn it. But I think that says a lot about the product and the service we offer. It's good enough, apparently, to have somebody of that caliber say, I'll help you guys. So yeah, that's what I wouldn't have it any other way, right? I hope to leverage this. I hope more vendors, whether it's F3 or other events that are doing these demos and stuff. Like I said, I mean, it's one thing to hear from the sales guy at the vendor, right? It's another to hear from an end user, and in this case, a C-suite executive saying, like, I am in all the way. I'm in it. So that's, again, very powerful.
Yeah. Don't have to play the role of the customer using the tech on stage, right? Like, just put the customer up there, show them how they use it. And you can just
it's not just talking. We're gonna pull up some real stuff, you know, that he's thinking to visually complement the story that we're telling. And like I said, I don't know how many fleets will be in audience, but again, even if you're not, it's still to me, it's a unique way to kind of flip the script, so to speak, at an otherwise just, you know, vendor-led demo environment. So I'm all, like I said, I'm very grateful and thankful for his participation.
Yeah, you got your Stripe card reader or your DocuSign ready to go?
Hey, if I always have a little mobile app in case we need to do an e-sig, but Casey, you know how I roll, man. I'm not a full court press guy, right? It's the dating analogy, right? Got to ease into a little bit. So unfortunately, I see a lot of these younger sales guys, and I get it. The market's brutal. Everyone's feeling it. Salespeople are getting just hammered to close business. Unfortunately, that creates an environment that I feel like there's a sense of desperation and some tactics being used that I would say are just not really attractive. And I'm not a transactional sales guy, right? And in some companies, I'm not selling widgets. And again, I've been in this game my whole life. I got way too much credibility and, you know, a reputation that I have control over that I'm not going to ruin trying to, you know, put vaporware out there and, you know, burn a bridge, right? Just not my style. And that's how I tell every founder I work with, like, just so you know, I take this stuff seriously. And as much as you may sign my paycheck, I'm looking to get meetings with people I work with for 20 some years, no matter who's signing my paycheck. And that's kind of where I advocate for customers, probably more than my own company. But, you know, I'm a long game player. That's kind of what it takes.
That is something you have to be very thoughtful about, though. Whenever you're in the space and you're looking at making a move to a different technology, you got to do your due diligence, right? You know,
and that's something I didn't know for a while, man. I you know, when you're younger, you're just so thankful to get a job, and I guess, you know, we hear about these non-competes, all that. I haven't signed a non-compete in at least, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, maybe longer, because I just said, look, I'm not going to get handcuffed, right? I'm not. And I've had that happen to me earlier in my career. And I think it's a big issue right now. Right. And
yes,
I kind of, again, it goes back to, I'm not saying I have a ton of leverage, but I know my value. And if you know, my job's to bring people to your party and get your brand out there. And I got to do my diligence, but I expect the other side of the house to live up to what they're asking me to evangelize. Right. So, I'm very cognizant of being able not to overstep, right? And but I empathize with people out there right now. It's such a saturated space, I feel like, with just more and more vendors popping up, and I think buyers' heads are spinning around this AI thing. Like, you know, it sounds cool, or I don't really know how it will translate, and knowing trucking, right? We're not always on the cutting edge generally. So I think it goes back to why I joined MapUp. Like, this is just like, again, it's easy to articulate. It's you can verify and validate the ROI quickly. And I think that's what it's just nice for me, right? It's nice not to have to try to dumb it down from PhD level. And, and again, I'm not very good at that, but that's a task in its own right. So this was one I just instantly resonated with me. And it's been fun, guys. I'm at a point in my career, I want to have fun, right?
But it's fun whenever you can sell a product that gets used immediately, right? You can start building that ROI just immediately instead of maybe months of getting set up,
Painful
integrations,
deployments,
building it up.
costly. Yeah,
and you're like, man, I hope this works. I hope this works. I hope this works for months on end, right?
Yeah, and all credit to the founders of MapUp who really, like, Manish, our co-founder, he's a family man, but at one point he told the fam he's going to take a 6-month hiatus and go live in a truck and go out on the road because he wanted to learn, how I want to see it in my own eyes. And so he literally was in a truck for 6 months of his life, going all around and learning about tolls and fuel and like firsthand account, right? And I don't think that's a testament to his willingness to understand a problem, not from just a high conceptual level, but see it out there with his own 2 eyes on the road. And that was another piece of the story. I was like, man, much love, Manish. I love that. So I wish more and more tech companies would I'm not saying you got to go out there for 6 months, but again, it baffles me how many people come into this market, raise capital, have an AI or some other automation play, but they've never been on a dock, right? It's like, I always ask them, you ever seen the back of a 53-foot 102 wide drive? And what? It's like, well, that's a good place to start, fellas. So it's interesting, right?
It is interesting, I'm still doing brush past research. So I have a lot of sales leads on freight brokerages, and a lot of the freight tech companies that come in, they don't understand how to go to market, right? Who to reach out to.
Yeah.
Who is their ICP? Who's all this? So it's a nice position to be in to be able to hand it over.
Yeah. 100%.
So that's good. That is
and it's a relation. Kevin, you guys know as much. It's relationships too, right? Yeah. I know it's a cliche, but I feel like, again, you have to invest in yourself and the ecosystem of all these, whether it's trucking or shipping, 3PLs, brokers, tech. 25 plus years I've been doing this. Younger guys like, how do you get the meeting? And I sent, 100, I automated 100 emails and I got nothing. I'm like, guys, that's the problem.
Yeah.
You got to invest in it, right? And I think, again, I don't want to make it sound like it happens overnight, but I'm a career freight guy. I have no intention of leaving this industry till I'm really ready to leave work. So I don't want to oversimplify. It's this magic bullet of how to get people to respond to you. But there are attributes you as a person can always carry with you that will, enable people to know you at some point and like you and trust you. And know, like, and trust is the magic formula there to do business with, no matter what you do.
It takes years.
That's a big part of my core values, if you will.
Yep, it takes years upon years. For that to happen.
It's an investment. That's right.
It really is.
That's right.
Let's talk about AI. Are we
never heard of this stuff, Kevin? Tell me.
I know, right? I just about the AI market, and I've kind of gone down this rabbit hole in the 2 months that we haven't been doing the show and things like that. My new hobby is, are we kind of in a bubble?
Oh man!
Well, economy wise, but certainly in our industry,
this is one of those very polarizing topics, and I follow my own financials and portfolio of investments and. I think at least Kevin, you and I are around for the .com bubble, and I don't rule that out. And the sheer amount of money putting into whether you're making chips or in the we no need to even name the companies. We're in the headlines all the time. But if this bet is not right, I mean, those short sellers are going to make a fortune. So, but on the other side of the equation, for those of us that have used some cool AI tools, and I use them all the time for things that I deem worthy of AI. I think there's absolutely merit, and I'm very bullish on tech in general. I mean, somewhat biased, but if you use GPT or anything, you get it. It's like, this is great. how does that translate into our industry is the question, right? And I just think, and I've learned this a long time ago, that this is the physical world, guys, right? Like, just there's certain things that happen every day outside your window you would have never anticipated. And I just don't think I see a day for a while where you can prompt an AI or a GPT to say, like, hey, here's what happened. And it's like, it's just like, you just think about stories you guys have both seen over the years of things that happen out on the road. And you're just like, I just don't see a machine being able to, like, your tribal knowledge as a practitioner will in my opinion, will supersede, probably today anyway, what a bot or anything is, giving you what, like, you just seen it, you've been there. And so
you gotta have a little bit of a sense of humor, right?
What's that, Kevin?
With all the stories and what can happen, you have to have a little bit of a cynical sense of humor about it all.
Yeah,
to really understand it and actually be able to solve for it.
Well, and again, guys, let's think about it. How many freight companies were touting AI even 2 years ago? Like, none.
Mhm.
Now everybody apparently is an AI company. And I think, like I said, you can't help but chuckle. It's just like, I commend you, and I get it. It's a bandwagon thing you got to do. But, like, half the people I know can't even really simply articulate the use case, or they'll have some really vague answer. And I think if you probe further, you're going, well, is that really AI? Are you doing statistics, or, like, is it just back end tables and some automation? Like, I think we're just we're in this weird, interesting period of trying to figure that out. And again, the buyer community's even more confused. You get 10 vendors come pitch a tool to you. You hear AI 1,000 times and you walk away going, I don't know. I'm not really sure how this fits into my workflow. So I think those companies that are doing it right, again, my opinion, are the ones finding those tasks, those use cases that it doesn't take long to arrive at a conclusion of, this makes sense. And you guys heard me before. I use the calculator analogy, right? I use it all the time. Back when calculators came out, a lot of the world was like, this, you're going to trust a machine to do these? No way. We're doing long division on paper. And here we are, right? So I know that's not a one-to-one comparative, but I think when you think about a calculator, you go, well, that just makes sense. Of course we use a calculator. So for freight companies that can have a similar parallel in a use case, whether it's back office operations, whatever, that's where I'd focus. I would not try to throw the kitchen sink of AI, light switch, magic bullet, because I don't think that is even remotely realistic.
I like to equate it back to 2000, right? Because 2000, I mean, like, we're going to do all this stuff online, right? But we are, right? I mean, it was transformative.
Yeah.
But it took a little bit longer to get there than everyone was expecting. I think I see the same thing with the AI, is that the amount of money that's poured into the overall economy, but certainly in the freight industry, means that AI has to be transformative tomorrow. And we're still a few years, so we're doing
just like nice autonomous. Where's all the autonomous vehicles going down? Like, I mean, that was we're talking going on what, 10 years that was the idea started hitting, and here we are, right? Like, I call it the absorption rate in the industry, in our industry. You can't rush these things, but so fast. And we're still talking to customers that are on the AS400 or, we still, a lot of EDI transactions, a lot of old tools. And I guess that's reality.
Fax machines.
I'm sure there's I haven't seen a fax out there. I do remember them. And, you're right, though. There's some company faxing PODs or BOLs in probably today. More than we realize. And some of them are companies you go, really? They are on that platform today?
Yeah,
true. Yeah. I saw another cool stat or just an article I read, and it kind of touches on AI. I thought this was interesting, right? Let's say hypothetically AI does become the future. If everybody, and I hear we always say it's not going to replace your job. Come on. That's the corporate answer, right? But let's be honest, we're capitalists. You're telling me that a publicly traded CEO of a company that size that has to pay shareholders can say, you can give me this little tool that will knock my operating expense and, whether it's OPEX or CAPEX, like, they're going to take that bet every day once it's proven. So I hate to say it. It's like going into an Amazon fulfillment center 10 years ago versus today. A lot less humans. So I think this notion of, like, I think it's a soft landing approach, but I think the reality is if you're doing something today that could be automated in some of those cases we talked about, like, you got to upskill right away, or hopefully maybe you're retiring. I'm not sure, but I don't want to.
Same conversation as 25 years ago, right?
Right.
If you're doing something that can't be automated, you better
Since the beginning of time, we've had to
And it
be made
happened.
redundant in certain things. So, but again, the interesting piece of this article was, well, let's suppose that happens. Economically speaking, if people are out of work, how do we support goods and services? Who's the buyers? Like these are existential questions that I think need to be thought about. So I think this is a very complex, dynamic topic. Obviously, headline will continue to be. But whether it's a bust or a boom, I think the jury's out, guys. I think we're very early in this evolution, but I don't want to claim to have any crystal ball. So, like I said, I'm optimistically cautious. That's kind of my general rule of thumb when it comes to any kind of disruptive type tech, any disruption. I'm just going to I'm trying to be as objective as I can, right, and see it through. I preach about perspective, and I think that's imperative to be able to understand through the lens of someone else, or somebody that has an opposed opinion. Like, just hear it, like, think about it, think critically, think independently. Imagine that.
I want to hear Casey's thoughts on that.
Casey, what is AI to you? Let's start there.
I saw a tweet the other day.
You were an AI. What kind of AI would you be? No.
Are you real, Casey? Are you a deep fake? I'm not even sure anymore.
No, really, but like somebody, I saw a tweet the other day. It said AI makes it, there's been a lot of slop out there, right? Is a term you see around for a long time, right? It makes it easier to produce slop. It also makes it easier to produce really great work if you use it the right way. And I think, I don't know, you hear Andreessen and guys like that talking about their 3-year-old sons who they can't wait to get, AI in front of. Maybe you don't need to go get your PhD anymore and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars going to school for the first 30 years of your life. Like, I'm
a parent, man. I'm thinking about that a lot. What is college in the future other than a social experiment,
Exactly. So I don't know, but at the same time, right? Like, what did all the farmers do when the Industrial Revolution happened, right? Like, right. They moved to cities and started working in factories, right? Like, things change, right, in this crazy world that we live in, and we never really know what people are going to be doing after their jobs get wiped out by technological advancement. But we seem to always figure it out, right? Like,
amen. Thus far, we've always found other, we're entrepreneurs as a country. We're all thinking about things like this. And again, it's just happening at a much faster rate than ever. That's the scary part.
Exactly. And the interesting thing as well, I think, is like, I don't know, you got these big companies, right? A lot of times still using fax machines, operating on antiquated systems, server-based TMSs, right? AS400s, etc. Can't leverage, right, these cool new technologies, right, and find ways to make your operation more efficient if your stuff's not interoperable, right? So does it make it a lot easier for upstart to come and steal that business because they can build their own TMS in ChatGPT overnight?
Bingo. How far away from just that, right? We're already seeing cases of it, and it's crazy cool and crazy scary all at the same time.
Yeah, it is. It's nuts, man. But I don't know. Time will tell.
Yeah, I mean, we also have to look at the duality of all this. I love that word, of duality of AI. I was watching some the other day, and it was just like, and again, simply, it's like AI could cure cancer, guys. I mean, really, it has the potential. Yeah. At the same token, in the wrong hands, though, it creates a bionuclear weapon that wipes out humanity. So, like, these are the questions I hope the leaders of the world are asking, and I don't want to claim to have an idea of what the fly on the wall sees or hears in that room, but I mean, these are all questions. I mean, as the holidays, Thanksgiving dinner table, holidays, right? I'm sure these are going to be conversations around the table. It's got to be.
Did you hear the one about the fraudsters getting their hands on agentic robots, calling carriers, telling them the load is canceled, showing up and stealing the freight?
I think that's happening. I think that the freight fraud of pilfering goods off a trailer, like that's what we call it, fraud. A trailer got stolen. Now it's all cyber. Right? We're seeing it. And I think there's companies that we all know that are trying their best, but it's a cat and mouse game, guys. It's like, there's always somebody that's going to outsmart the latest. You think you got this perimeter, this firewall, and there's some kid sitting somewhere going, oh, they think they got this secured, like. And I think that's we're seeing it all. Casey, that's a great example. I mean, I don't know how we completely ever prevent fraud. I think as an industry, we're as far along as we've ever been of putting it on the map and making sure we're starting to focus on tools that it can mitigate it as much as possible. But I don't think it ever goes away. And I mean, trucking's tough right now. I mean, it's an underwriter's game at some point. I mean, when the cybersecurity firms are getting hacked. The irony of that, right? Like that says a lot. You're supposed to be the gatekeeper and you just got hacked. So it's like, and now an insurance is like, it's like, who's going to underwrite this stuff? I don't know.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
Well, fraud's not going away because the caravans were robbed, ships at sea, the pirates.
Yeah, that went through that.
Stagecoach robberies, train robberies, truck robberies, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're
but
moving
now it's
over
just
the
like
road,
it's how slick they are, because
they're very
it's
slick.
totally exploiting some level of trust, right? And there's smart people behind the screen that they're you hear stories about they're legitimate, like say a carrier, right? Maybe a road carrier that they start out by actually doing the job by the letter of the law, but it's really more of a recon mission to figure out how they can game the system. So, like, how do you stop that, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I was a broker 15 years ago, right? Whenever I started out, and you'd have a piece of fraud here, and they weren't very smart either, right? It was like dumb identity theft, right? And now it's just like organized and swarms and this real cat and mouse game going on, and it's interesting. I mean,
people ask, like, why is trucking now such a hot, fraud area? And you can speculate. I think a lot of it, honestly, guys, was the Yellow bankruptcy, the news that billions of dollars in the government contracts. And I think some, these hackers were like, oh, what is this industry? And then they started digging in going, talk about lack of security. This is a gold mine. So, I mean, that's one area I saw that those headlines we all read. I think it really put our industry on the map for probably the wrong reasons in every way, but it did open up a floodgate of opportunists out there that are like, hey, this is just ripe for picking. So here we are.
Here we are. Definitely. I will say about AI and whether we're in a bubble or not, I think the money is moving far faster than the innovation or the scalability or the capabilities of AI. The money's pouring in at a much faster rate. And
it's crazy.
It is crazy. And it really reminds me of the early days of .com, right?
Yeah. Everyone just like it. People just getting caught up in the frenzy. And, I think if you're on Wall Street, you don't want to miss out, right? And you get the FOMO of going, and again, I think there's legitimacy to a lot of where this stuff goes. I really do.
Oh, completely legitimate, right?
But to a point that we need to use common sense and reasoning before we go, I'm not sitting at the poker chip table just going all in.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I live. I'm always like, need to test the waters a little bit. So, but if I'm in Wall Street or out in the Silicon Valley, it's like it's cutthroat, and they're just trying to be first winner. So a lot of money, a lot global economy scale for this stuff. I mean, we're talking about having the first trillionaires, right?
Yeah.
I'm old enough to remember when you were a millionaire. It's like, oh my God,
I know,
a millionaire. Now it's like, times are tough, huh? Millionaires. It's like we're going into trillionaire. It's like don't get me started on this, guys. The wealth disparity, the gaps. I got a young kid. I don't even want to guess what things could be like by his time he's our age.
25 years ago in the .com bubble, a $1 billion company was a huge company, right?
Yeah,
it was sizable. $50 billion was a
the unicorn. We're a unicorn now. They got the decacorn, and we'll have a different one. Whatever's next.
Well, Enron was the 7th largest company with like a $70 billion market cap whenever it collapsed.
Smartest guys in the room. One of the best docs out there. Yeah,
one of the best docs, definitely. That was the 7th largest company with $70 billion. I mean, now you're considered mid-market, right?
Now we look at
the,
Ken Lay and Jeff Skilling is like, they were the magicians that pulled it off. And here, but
yeah,
it's, I'm fearful, guys, that that's potentially what we could be encountering if we don't get a handle on some of this. But
yeah.
I'm a nobody, right? I'm clearly not capable of answering this question in any real level of depth. And I can only, all we can do as taxpayer citizens is just like, guess we'll trust the geniuses that, whether it's the Fed level or, economics or tech. I don't know. I'm not going to stay up at night anymore about it.
I probably will, but
yeah, the doom scrolling it's bad enough.
I know.
Maybe we'll just hit reset and just, we'll all just be going back, like hit the full reset on society at some point. Who knows? Fun conversations though. The what ifs.
It is.
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. Could be a bubble. Probably most likely a bubble, right? Like, and it seems like all the value. I mean, how many $1 trillion companies are there now, right? It's the Magnificent Seven, I think, carrying a lot of this, market, right? So
we didn't even know OpenAI or NVIDIA a couple years. Who was that? You didn't know.
Right?
We didn't really know who they were. You're just like, now look, crazy.
Yeah.
Really nuts. So
NVIDIA is what, $4.5 trillion market cap?
I mean, you're probably looking it up on the ticker, Kevin. I don't know. It's crazy. I mean, it's eclipsed. You look at some of these comparative stats of like blue chip, S&P companies, and then you see some of these like these chip makers that are just, we just alluded to them. They're like eclipsing half the Fortune 500 just as like, it's just baffling, right? Like I defies the laws of economics in some ways, but at the same token, is this the new future? I don't know.
I saw a stat last week, I think, and hopefully it's true. I mean, I don't know. But $4.5 trillion NVIDIA, which is larger than the UK economy.
And guys, I'm bullish on this in my own portfolio. So I'm a happy camper. You think I don't mind logging into my stock and portfolio today? It's like I'm loving it. But every great bull run like this, there's a word freight. We saw what happens when you fall off the cliff, right? Like that's where it's like you see gold and other commodities and precious metals. Like, well, I'm like you guys. I'm like, I don't know where to place my bets, but I want to ride this wave. But when is enough, right? And when do I realize that I got to get out? And I don't know. I'm just that's the nature of capitalism, guys. I love it. I love it for everything it stands for. But there's a lot of fear that goes with that.
It is 4.42 trillion as of right now.
Wow. And I got a piece of it. I know very little piece.
Yeah, we all have a piece of it, right?
But think about the guys that have the big piece of it. It's just like,
I know, right?
This incredible amount of wealth. I mean, it's just unheard of. So I won't get into how like the philosophical side, because that's I know Casey can always shed some good light as a historian. And I think that's, again, we'll have a beverage in hand for those we go that direction.
I was going to say, Chris,
we need a few.
Hopefully we see each other in Orlando. We can have a drink and talk philosophy of life.
Yeah, nothing like philosophy and broker carrier summit. Yeah.
Right?
That's a great way to avoid fraud and getting ripped off by AI. Fraudulent carriers, go shake hands with the guy, go develop the relationships old school, and
yeah, maybe their intent's good. They're just struggling in that. I mean, everybody has their own reasons of why they choose to. I mean, I think a lot of these folks, it's just a means of survival, right? They can't get, for a lot of reasons, they may not be able to go the straight and narrow path to support themselves or their family. And like, I try to see that, but it's like, it's illegal though. And you're going to get locked up if you do this. So like, don't do it. But like, to your point, Casey, maybe BCS and other events, if they happen to be there in the shadows, come out and just like, how could I start to be a straight arrow carrier or whatnot, right? Like maybe, but I think they're probably making a lot of money in the fraudulent world. And I don't know that they probably, someone may not even have a conscience to even care. So that's where we're at, guys.
It is. It definitely is. Well, Chris, it's been a pleasure as always having you on the show, and coming back from hiatus, and here you are.
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling recharged and rested. I'll talk to me in a month when the conference whirlwind dies, and I'll be. Thankfully, it's right around the holidays, guys. So I think typically business, freight, et cetera, a little time to I say relax a little bit, relatively speaking. So But yeah, look, thank you guys again for having me. I really appreciate it. It's always a pleasure, fellas, always. And even better when we're in the room together at some point soon, hopefully. So looking forward to it.
Awesome.
For sure.
Same here.
Likewise.
Cool.
Take care. Congrats on MapUp and good
Thank
luck.
you.
And we'll see each other soon.
Yes, sir. All right, Casey, Kev, you guys be good. Talk soon.
Thursday, man.
You guys.
For sure. Appreciate it.
Always awesome catching up with Chris. Really is.
Amped up. I love it.
I know. He's always amped up. That's why I like to see him. Every time I see him at a conference, he's always amped up and just a total optimist, always in a good mood, always smile on his face. It's great to see.
Electric smile. But yeah, it's cool. Solving problems.
Solving problems. So yeah. So what's up in your world? Any big weekend plans? Anything going on?
My girlfriend works for the Jacksonville men's lax team. They've got a big scrimmage this weekend against Marquette. So probably go to that. Maybe do some fishing, a little bit of golfing. But yeah, that's what I got. What are you doing? You're going to Disney World sometime soon, aren't you?
Yeah, so I'll be on the road. So I'm going to leave Saturday morning to Orlando, Florida, to Disney World. Everyone else is flying. I'm going to drive. And so we'll have a car out there and do a week at Disney World, and then broker carrier week the week after that. So it'll be fun.
Sweet. I will hope to see you there. I was just checking that out. And,
definitely. Yeah. You should come out for a couple nights. Yeah.
Drive down there.
Yeah. It's fun. Meet great partners, right? Everyone's in a good mood because the brokers and carriers are coming together, they're talking, they're chatting, and then they start covering loads. And that does wrap out the fraud, right? I mean, if you're face to face with people that you're doing transactions with, doing business with, it's you're not going to get in fraudulent activities that way.
Old school exchange, get to vet each other and hold each other accountable, man. Like exactly blockchain promised.
Exactly. That was another bubble that we went through, right?
Were you following that story over the weekend? It was crazy. A lot of people lost a lot of money with the latest in the trade war.
The latest in the trade war?
So what was it? Last week, China started talking about rare earth restrictions, and then Trump's like, all right, I'm going to throw another 100% tariff on you. The crypto market's absolutely tanked. A lot of people are like super leveraged. I think I saw one person, had a $30 million account go to zero in like 4 minutes.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. Absolutely wild. It's funny. There's some great memes, videos out there. The hodlers, just the old school Bitcoin folks, just riding through it. Nothing they haven't seen before. But
I would say word to the wise. The market right now, I wouldn't lever up too much because it's likely to get volatile no matter which way we go.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. Cautionary tale there, Kev. It's interesting. It seems like the spot rates in the freight market may be heating up. I don't know if it's the capacity front and a trucking super cycle on the horizon.
Compliance crunch. I think last week everybody was very hopeful, right? Saw a tightening in a lot of different areas. I've been talking to people this week, and it's kind of a mixed bag, right? Everybody's it's kind of faded away a little bit. People are hopeful, but everyone's just let's wait and see. Let's wait and see on this because it hasn't picked up momentum.
Right. Could just be seasonality.
Could be. It could be any number of things. So it needs a bit more time, right? A few more weeks to call it trend. But we got to get out of this funk at some point soon.
Some good earnings reports coming out.
JB Hunt, I guess, had a good one. I haven't had a chance to read it, but I think they were up 12% yesterday.
Yeah.
After hours on it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Your transportation stocks go up too.
I haven't talked with Seth in a little while. They've been getting pounded, but
Yeah.
it's a good reprieve.
Yeah, transportation stocks are all bottom of the board, right? You have a few people who are, said JB Hunt, CH Robinson's been doing very well in the market, right? With margins and stuff like that. But yeah, the kind of JB Hunt kicks off the third quarter earnings reports, and I guess over the next few weeks we'll see exactly certainly how the public companies are adjusting to this normal that we find ourselves stuck in. And see what kind of levers they've been pulling. See how much they talk about AI, right? I mean that's good
Yeah.
metric to think about too. See if they've had any success or kind of what their thoughts are on it.
Yep.
Yeah. With that said, let's wrap it up here and head off into the weekend and enjoy ourselves. And I won't be around next week, but the week after that, probably do a show.
Let's do it, Kev.
Cool.
Awesome. Have fun at Disney World.
Will do.
Glad we got back on here.
I am
Always
too.
fun to do this with you. But yeah, man. I'll catch you in a couple of weeks and hope to see you in Orlando.
Yep, definitely. Look forward to seeing you there too.
All right. Peace.